Hi, welcome to my presentation on coding across the curriculum and beyond. The first thing I want to do is just get an idea of what you believe coding is, maybe some of the stigmas, maybe just maybe a word that comes to mind when you think about coding. I want to hear back from you. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get started on, I want to do a couple things. I want to kind of define some coding principles that that occur in everyday life and probably inside your classroom as well. And then I want to show you some tools if you're interested in ways that you can show kids coding. And then I want to also talk about some of the opportunities that students have to use coding beyond the classroom and school environment. So let's get started. I just want to, there's a couple basic principles of coding that, you start with at the very, even at the very elementary level. Uh, the first is just an algorithm. Algorithm is just a set of steps or procedures. We do this every day. So think about your morning daily routine. You wake up, you get your coffee, you go eat your breakfast, you get dressed, you take a shower or whatever. It's just the steps that occur, just basic steps. And that's what coding is just telling a computer what to do. Here are my steps. Now you have to be very specific because the computer can only understand certain commands, but that's basically what an algorithm is. And then the next thing I want to talk about is a loop. Loops are awesome because they improve efficiency. Think about a daily task that you do over and over again, and sometimes like whether it's driving to school or what it might be, you're going to do that over and over. And your brain actually will remember that loop, and you'll kind of do it without even thinking after a while. So an example may be like you're on Facebook and you're tagging somebody, tagging a bunch of people on in a picture. All right, you move on to the next picture, you do the same steps. You don't have to keep thinking about doing each one of those steps. With a loop, you just keep doing the same set of steps over and over again. And encoding it, that improves efficiency. Decisions. This is like an if then statement. We use this all the time, whether in English or math or whatever subject you might be talking about. There's real world impacts as well. So if I eat a cookie, then I need to go for a run, something like that. It's a cause and effect situation. And then the last big main concept in coding are variables. We need to store things. So, for example, I can't remember everything that I need for the grocery, so I write it down on a list and it's stored on a piece of paper so that when I go to the grocery store, I can use it. That's what a variable is. It's storage for whether I want to use it in a loop or if then statement or whatever my algorithm might need, I can store that variable. Some benefits to your class, what coding can do for your class is it's just an awesome way. I love problem solving. I love watching kids learn how to learn. And so that's what coding does. If you sit inside of a classroom where the kids are coding, they are learning to learn. They are learning to break down a large problem into bite-sized pieces, analyze it. They are learning how to communicate with other students, collaborate on what they're doing. They're learning how to fail and try again because that's what it is. It's continual failure. What that didn't work. Okay, let me try something new. Let me try something new. So I hope that you see some of these things in your own classroom that either you can implement or you're seeing come from a student that might be coding. Pattern recognition. This is everywhere, whether you're in English, whether you're in English class looking at a certain book and different patterns that are happening there. It happens in math when you're talking about any sort of function has a certain pattern of what's going on. Science, you're looking for patterns all the time when you do experiments. What is happening over and over again that I can make a conclusion about? So it's the same thing with coding is you're looking for patterns to make things more efficient. Am I doing something over and over again? Well, that's a loop. And so that's another thing that comes out of this. Social and emotional learning, kind of talking with learning how to learn. Kids can sit down for counselors. You can, kids are collaborating and again, learning how to learn, working together through making something. And I'll talk about making something and creating something here in just a minute. Here's some cool tools that you could possibly be using in math. There's a math art combination to Kinter's math art, and I'll send these links out later. Visual education, choreography is just an algorithm of what you're doing. You're just you're going through these steps, and you might even loop through them. You might be like, okay, we do these steps, and then you do them again when the chorus comes. Or I'm not a music expert on what would come next, but music, again, pattern recognition is happening all the time. And then just in general, I'll throw some coding platforms out there that you can use, whether it's maybe they have some extra time, you want them to do some extended stuff in your classroom. But there's so many different things out there for students. The last thing I want to talk about is these opportunities for students. I'm building this computer science program. I want to know why it's so important, and maybe in your own classroom you can stress some of these ideas as well. It's not just for students that want to go into a computer science degree. These principles are awesome for any sort of job that you want to go into, whether or just daily life. Being able to use these things. So again, I think everyone knows the high job demand. I think it's ever increasing that computers are a part of our world, um, and they're everywhere in our pockets, in every device that we use, pretty much. And so one of the big things is obviously it's good to get it'll be easy to get a good job, but also better understanding of the world around them. They get to see these things, a computer, a phone, uh, stoplight, all of these things have computers in them. If they understand coding, they can understand these things that are surrounding them every day a little bit better. The thing that I love about coding is it just, like I've talked about throughout this presentation, it improves problem solving skills. Like they have to learn how to break a large problem down into manageable bite-sized pieces. They have to be able to work with somebody else to look at someone else's code, find a bug. That's life, is finding bugs and fixing them. How do I go about fixing problems that I have? That's problem solving there. And failure, learning to fail and try again and have perseverance. I think we all see that in our classes is the lack of being able to pick yourself up after falling down. Again, I said practice collaboration. Creativity is one that some of my students are like, being creative in with coding, that doesn't make sense. But there's a lot of creativity in the way you can design your algorithms, the way you can make things more efficient, and then just your end product. There's a lot of mixture of coding and art in there. Graphic design, games in general have an art aspect to it. But there's a lot of creativity in just the way you design your program, which is kind of cool. And then improves persistence. I talked about that already. Just being able to give them a problem, they're more likely to, if they're trying to produce some sort of game, they're more likely to try to get that done than they are a math problem. No offense to math teachers, I'm one myself, but I see a stronger motivation for that. So it's a great tool for being able to show them how that works as well. Thank you for listening. I want to continue this conversation. Please ask me questions as you have them. But I just love coding. I love the idea. I love the opportunities that it brings our students. And so I want as many students as possible. I believe it's Steve Jobs that said every student should have an opportunity to learn how to code. And he seemed like a pretty smart guy. So again, thank you for listening. I appreciate your time.